Well. We find ourselves in the exact same position that we have found ourselves in the last 2 years now in the playoffs come elimination time. Welcome into the Daily Wolves Courtside. I am your host, Matt, joined here today by my co hosts, Jeff and Joe. And yeah, guys, I don't even really know where to start with this one. So I'll kind of let you guys take this. Jeff, if you want to start and then pass it off to Joe. What are your initial thoughts from this game?
Yeah, we went out sad for the third straight year. 2 years ago against Dallas, we were down 29 at half and we lost by 21. Last year we were down 33 at half to OKC and we lost by 30. And today we're losing by 31 right now with 2 minutes to go. So it's depressing. It's not surprising. If you've watched this series, you knew the Spurs were like clearly a better team, and like game one was pretty fluky, and then the other game we won was just because Wemby got suspended or ejected. So it's just like, yeah, I mean, this is kind of what he expected, but it's not fun to watch.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
not
it's just so brutal. I mean, like this energy carries into the off season for a while. Like the
Yeah.
feeling of this game and being down in this way and just watching the team play with zero energy, like guys seeming frustrated with each other. Like obviously it's tough when Stephon Castle is hitting like 4 feet behind the line threes. Like he doesn't normally do this. He
Yeah.
doesn't normally do this. And then Dylan Harper just getting any basket he wants. Like I don't know, and it's scary to see because it feels like this is like a sign of the future for this team. Like this type
Yeah,
of
for
game
sure.
where Wemby's not like Wemby. There was a time with the Spurs team where if he had a bad game on offense, like they had other pieces around, but you couldn't really count on another dude to really step up. Like seeing Stephon Castle drop 30, Dylan Harper playing the way he has.
He's so good.
I don't know. It's just a scary time in the West for sure, and like you said, Jeff, like it's year after year. I don't know. I mean, we faced a lot of adversity towards the end of it. And I mean, throughout the whole entire season, honestly, like there was always something going on. But I don't know. I just wish it would at least end with us like fighting and being
Yeah.
in it.
Yeah, I agree with everything that you guys said there. Like you guys heard Joe, Stephon Castle shot 71% from the field tonight, 5 for 7 from three. He was a 33% three-point shooter in the regular season. De'Aaron Fox shot 3 for 3 from behind the line, also a 30% three-point shooter, shot 80% from the field. Just kind of looking at it up and down, if you want to exclude Julian Champagny, every single Spurs player tonight that played actual minutes shot over 50% from the field. So,
Yeah.
it, you know, to some degree, you have to tip your cap to the Spurs, man. They have played a hell of a series. And like you guys said, we've harped on this the whole series. Dylan Harper is going to be a stud in this league. Stephon Castle, I'm not ready to call him a stud because I'm still butthurt about, all the flopping and throwing his head back and whatnot. But tonight, dude, Steph Castle had one of the probably the best game of his career, most meaningful for sure. But I guess with all that being said, let's take a little bit of a deeper dive into this stuff. So my first initial question for you guys is, we kind of talked about this on the last episode with um Chris Finch's offense, that's kind of there's been a lot of question marks this series. And I say this every episode that we bring up Chris Finch. I'm a Chris Finch truther. I think that he is a good coach, but I don't know how Chris Finch can't be on the hot seat after this a little bit. We have seen no offensive adjustments at all. And when we
Mhm.
found something that was working this game, specifically the 5 out offense after we were down 30, brought it to within what, 12 points, something like that, and you steer away from it. I understand that
Mhm.
politics are a thing in the NBA. I understand that, you don't want to go out and bench Julius Randle, but he played 20 minutes tonight. He was a team low, minus 29 or minus 27, shot 1 for 8 from the field, three fouls. I just don't understand why you turned away from Nas Reed. Nas has been the best player in this series on our team for my money.
For
18
sure.
points from Nas tonight, shot 53% from the field. I thought that, Nas played just about as well as he could. He's going to have his defensive lapses, but tonight Nas had no fouls. I thought that Nas played a phenomenal game, and I just don't understand why you would have turned away from what was working. So, I guess with that being said, what's your guys' stance on the whole Chris Finch thing? I'll let you take this one, Joe.
I don't know. I think it's tough. I've like I feel like just in sports in general, like even outside of basketball, like coaches in general just get scapegoated kind of quickly,
Yeah.
especially I mean, I don't necessarily think that's what's happening with Finch. I mean, obviously there's been talks about it. Like maybe I mean with the offense it can be hard sometimes, especially when you see other teams that seemingly get more out of having less by having like a flow in their offense and by not relying on ISO ball all that often and being able to really swing it around. So, I mean, you see teams like that, but that's just, I don't really think that's necessarily how we're built. Like, we've seen
Mhm.
games when our offense is working, and there's like a reason why he hasn't really changed it. I think, I mean, 2 years in a row into the Western Conference Finals. I just think in this series, like the Spurs just got the better of us. Like in especially in this game, like every single facet of it, we were just getting dominated. And I think only so much of that can really be pointed at Finch. Something I do get a little like worried about is like you see Finch's body language and his
Yeah.
demeanor sometimes, and it's like I don't know. At a certain point, like you're the one who's got to be bringing these guys together. Like
Yeah.
and like not to say a coach can't be mad. A coach can obviously be mad, but especially at a point where it's like, okay, we can either try to claw our way back or just give up. And it kind of seems like the whole team is leaning towards give up. Like you really got to try to like rasterize the crew and get them going. And it just seems like sometimes, I mean, obviously we're not there, but like just from what we see, it seems like sometimes he feeds into the energy of the team a little bit because he expects so much out of them that I'm sure it's disappointing when he feels like things aren't going their way and things aren't working.
Mhm.
But I don't know. I think the hot seat might be like a little quick. I mean, he's just such a good coach, and with a guy like that, we've seen what can happen when a new coach comes in. Like it can just devastate a team. Like at least from my perspective, like I think there's definitely adjustments, but I think he's a smart guy, and we have a whole off season ahead of us. So like not too concerned about it.
Yeah, I'm always of the thought of like anytime you want to fire a coach who you know is at least a good coach, who are you bringing in? Like, what is your plan for who's gonna take them from who's their Steve Kerr that's gonna take them from this level to this level? Because you can't get Steve Kerr. He just signed a 2-year extension, and it's just always like you end up in spots like with the Bucks where they're like, we need to get rid of
Yeah.
Budenholzer because we need to take that next step. They bring in a young coach, they fire him halfway through, and then they're stuck with Doc Rivers for 2.5 years. And the moment you sign Doc Rivers, you're like, all right, the Bucks aren't winning anything again. Like it's just like, who are we gonna get that's gonna take us from this to this? And like, I think it's more so. I know in the Dane Moore podcast they brought it up like other GMs and other front offices look at our roster and they're like, that roster doesn't really make sense. It's kind of impressive that they're winning playoff series with that roster that doesn't make sense. And it's like, hey, maybe if we gave Chris Finch a roster that made sense, maybe we could actually see him scheme up some things and do some things that, he hasn't been able to do because you're just so limited when you have an offense that has Rudy Gobert in it. And you're so limited when you have Julius Randle have to be ball centric to be his most valuable, but then he turns it over all the time. So it's just like, I'm not ready to throw Finch out completely. I think this was a bad series from him. I don't think after game one, I don't think they really looked as prepared or into it as they needed to be. But I still think he's a good coach, and I think his seat's warm, but I don't say it's like burning hot yet.
Yeah. I like the guy. I like the points that you guys made. And right here, Ren said Chris Finch will always resort to the free flow offense, and that was going to work into my next point. I think that's one of the bigger gripes that I have with Finch. And I'm going to say it again. I'm a Chris Finch truther. I love Finch.
Mhm.
But when you have this other comment right here from Dua, Finch has too many blowout playoff
Yeah.
losses. There's a lot of truth to that. And Chris Finch is a very, very flawed coach. On the other end of the spectrum, he's a good coach. It seems like our star player likes him. He's bought into Chris Finch. So it does make it very hard to make a move as drastic as that is after him being here for what is this year 6 now, I believe, year 5, year 6.
2020-ish, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, we'll call it year 6 for Chris Finch. But dude, the free flow offense, like it's something's got to change. I talked about this last episode too. There needs to be more schemes implemented offensively. And back to your point, Jeff, I think that that does have to start with kind of his personnel that he has to use. You are so limited to what you can do with Rudy Gobert. And when you have Julius Randle playing as piss poor as he did throughout the playoffs, you are like teams can double ant and they're literally begging. They're begging any and anybody else to beat you. And the Wolves just simply didn't have it, and I don't think that you can run another year of the free flow offense. And I know that not having your starting point guard that you had for all 82 games out of all season, he would have made a difference, yes. But I don't really know if that having Dante would have changed this series as much as some
No.
fans are putting it out to be. Yes, we have another shooter, but Dante's not going to come out and give you 25, 20 points a game. That's just not what Dante was. Dante found his role prior to the Achilles tear. Found he was the hustle guy. He was getting on the boards. I thought that Dante's playmaking was at an all-time high in a Wolves uniform prior to that. So there are a lot of factors going into this, but in my personal opinion, I like what you guys said. I think that there does have to at least be a question. I don't think that you get rid of Finch, but if you are Matt Lloyd, if you are Alex Rodriguez, you do have to bring something up to Finch. Be like, man, this kind of stuff cannot continue to happen. And let's go on to this next comment right here from Micah Roberts. Is the Rudy Gobert era officially over? And I think that we can ask this question about a few players on our team. I think that after a loss like this, after quite frankly, I hate to nag about it, but how sorry our offense looked all series long,
Mm-hmm.
I think that we're going to come into next year with a complete roster retool. We just talked about the Dante thing. I do think the Rudy Gobert era is over for the Wolves solely for the sole reason that I think Rudy had a good enough series against Nikola Jokic. This was not a Rudy Gobert series against Victor Wembanyama. If you've been tapped in with Wolves ball at all, everybody knew that Rudy was going to get not necessarily played off the floor, but like it just wasn't going to be his series. And I think that you have to sell high on Rudy Gobert. We're going to get into a lot of more of this off-season stuff come time. But do you guys have any like 2 cents on whoever else you guys think is going to be gone? Is like Julius going to be gone? We kind of talked about Finch. Was this Mike Conley's not only last game as a Wolf? Was this Mike Conley's last NBA game ever? What do you guys think on that stuff?
If this is Mike Conley's last game, he had a hell of a series for what we expected from him. Like he was honestly like one of the best players we had in this series. He was scrappy as hell. He was getting us extra possessions, making his threes. It was fun. If that is the end for Mike Conley, it was really fun to see him go out like that. I think they could Gobert and Randall could both be gone, but I am worried that Conley is going to have a price, and if that price isn't met, he's just going to be like, all right, we're going to go into next season. Their value will maybe go up if they play, and then maybe the price of other people asking will go down, and then we'll make the trade at the trade deadline or halfway through the start of the year. So I think they're both gone, but I would not be surprised if Conley is like, nope, they're not matching my offers that I want. I'm just going to run it back, and that would be a disaster. I really don't want that to happen because my start for next season, like my interest of the Wolves will be so down if they have a pretty much same roster. But I feel like Conley's stubborn, and I don't know if he'll make trades that just get him off the team. He'll have a price, and if it's not met, he won't trade him.
No, yeah, I think like with Gobert, it's just so tough because realistically, let's just say expansion doesn't happen anytime in the near future, and we are like 1,000% stuck with the Thunder and Spurs right there. Like these are going to be the teams if we want to win a championship at any point in the next like dozen years. these are teams we're going to have to get through. I know, like, obviously injuries can occur and things such as that. And like we saw with the Celtics, like you have an off year when someone goes down. So not to say there can't be years that we get through, but Rudy Gobert is just not a center that's going to work in the Western Conference against these guys. Like we saw how it can be good against Jokic because he'll out physical him. He'll play great defense on him, one of the only guys who can defend him that well. But then you look at Rudy Gobert and any advantage that Gobert has over other centers, like Wembanyama's right there with him. Like Wembanyama, you could already argue is at least like talent wise and what he can do on the floor, one of the best defensive players of all time. And this is just year
Yeah.
3, and this is only gonna keep moving. I think the team needs. I mean, obviously the roster is weird. We have Julius Randle at the 4, Rudy Gobert at the like. It's just not like you guys are saying. You look at the Nuggets, you look at the Spurs. These are teams that are built well. These guys mesh together. Their play styles bounce off of each other really well. And with Rudy Gobert, like you guys said, the offense can't flow in the same way. And I do think it's time, unfortunately. I love Rudy Gobert. I've
Yeah.
loved having him on the Timberwolves. DPOY 2 times over. Like,
Mhm.
I don't know. I think it's been great, but we've seen our ceiling at this point with this roster. And
Yeah.
as you said, Jeff, I'm gonna be sad if it's the same thing come next fall.
Right here, Heidi Peppers said, "What happened
Mhm.
to our defense?" And before we get into that, we're going to go to a quick ad read from 612 Tees.
Today's show is brought to you by 612tees.com. And if I'm going to shop for Minnesota Timberwolves gear to look fresh, to stand out, to have something different, I'm going to our friend Cole, who we partnered with. Shout out to Cole. He's a local Minnesotan. And again, I'm big on supporting Minnesota local brands. That's 612tees.com, all spelled out, not the number 612, the words 612tees.com. And this is going to bring you to the best website out there for the freshest gear for the Minnesota Timberwolves. I absolutely love it. I shop there right now with my team. When we want to stand out at the games or going to our next watch party, 612tees.com.
Big shout out to 612 Tees. Had to rep the 1-800 Nas Reed shirt today. So big shout out to you guys for sponsoring today's episode. And even with the season being over, it still doesn't mean you can't be tapped in with 612 Tees and get your Wolves merch today. So back to what we were saying before that ad read. What happened to our defense this series, man? And that was concerning. What we watched the last 2 games. I think a really glaring, obvious issue we had was, dude, you cannot get beat on inbound passes at the NBA level as consistently as the Wolves did this whole series.
Mhm.
I've played basketball my whole life. I have played bad teams, I've played good teams. Throughout any level, I have never seen any team get beat off an inbound as much as the Wolves did throughout these last 2 games or even this whole series. And tonight too, the rebounding numbers, this is going to sound fake. The Wolves had a total of 29 rebounds tonight to the Spurs 60. 60 rebounds to 29. Rudy Gobert tonight, he only had 3 rebounds. Julius had 7. Ant had 2. Io had 1. TJ had 2. Nas had 7. And a little bit of that, is due to the Spurs having a freaking magnet ball game. But dude, the
Yeah.
defense this series was piss poor. What did you guys see from the defense kind of throughout the series? What were the glaring issues to you guys?
Yeah, the 3 games we got blown out, I think they got 126, 133, and then now 139. Just like, yeah, you're not gonna win if you're giving up that many points. It was a number of things. I think one of the most frustrating was the transition. Like even after you make it or you miss it, they're just getting back and getting a bucket right away. De'Aaron Fox, Stephon Castle, Dylan Harper. It was just like, oh, cool, we scored, and then 2 seconds later they're already scoring. It's like, all right, then what's even the point? Especially when we're trying to come back, you're down 18 or whatever, and you're just like, oh, we're just trading buckets. We have no chance of getting back in this game now. And then just we weren't able to stay in front of their guys, or if we were, they would just outmuscle us, get it to the rim, and then like Wemby just kind of breaks our defense because if you leave him, it's the easiest lob dunk ever. And so you kind of just have to stay away. And so they're just getting right to the rim and they're finishing over us. And Stephon Castle gets a pretty good whistle too. I wish Anthony Edwards could get that whistle sometimes, but yeah, and then everyone comes to help, and they have a game like today where they're hitting their threes, and nothing you can do.
I think it's tough on the perimeter when Dylan Harper, Castle, and Fox. Fox, not necessarily with the best series per se, but I mean, the pressure he puts on a defense with his speed and the way he can get to the rim is insane. 3 for 3 from three tonight. Like, when you're the fastest player, arguably, in the NBA and can get to the rim at the rate he can, I know he was limping at some point during the game, and then also be hitting three threes. And okay, the thing is, Dante, not per se the best defender, but he's going to put in a lot of effort and
Yeah.
he's going to make somebody work. He's going to make somebody work. And Ant, fully healthy, not on 2 injured knees, he's going to do his best every possession, especially in a game 6 like this, to make somebody work. But then when we don't have either of them, Io's a good defender, McDaniels is a good defender. They're not always going to be on the court together, and they're usually going to have 2 perimeter creators at least who are going to be really efficient at getting their own shot up, and we just couldn't keep up. Like, they were just getting the shots that they wanted. We weren't forcing them into anything. Gobert, obviously, like, his impact isn't like always seen, but when it's Wembenyama in the paint, his impact just isn't the same because he needs to be there to stop that lob. Like, if someone's not there to be in the way of that, or if, like, I don't know, it just doesn't make a difference when it's Wemby right there next to
Yeah.
him. And it's hard to watch because we're so used to being a team that can go out there and dictate on both ends of the floor. Not always, but having moments where we're doing both. And to see our defense just kind of be walked all over for throughout this series, I don't know, it's just hard. I definitely think it starts at the perimeter for sure.
Yeah. Ren dropped a comment right here that said they were attacking Randall. I know his awareness and lack of defense. There's a ticket to winning this game. You know, for as much slack as Julius Randle has caught this series, I will say, and I'm about to catch some slack for this one. On ball, I don't think Julius actually played terrible this series. I'm not gonna lie to you. For how big he is, for how stocky he is, the Spurs it just kind of felt like they matchup hunted him with like De'Aaron Fox kind of when they could. Because like you said, Joe, the pressure that De'Aaron Fox is gonna put on a defense with his speed, and if you can get Julius Randle into a switch and pull off Jaden McDaniels and make him go stand in the corner with Julian Champagny, you're gonna eat that up 10 out of 10 times. And the point of that comment that I don't want to say like, but the point that I'm going to validate is his lack of awareness. I think we saw it on both ends of the ball tonight. We've talked about it offensively a lot that Julius is a good player. Julius is not a good player when it comes to facing elite defenses where he needs to make a quick decision. And, defensively, that's just kind of who Julius Randle is. He's not I hate to come on here and dog on our guys, but he's not aware defensively. He doesn't seem like he really has a care in the world. Tonight maybe a little bit different. I didn't necessarily see as ton of defensive lapses from Julius as we have in the past, but the point still stands. Julius doesn't look interested on defense. And if you want to go out and you want to compete in a stacked Western Conference and go out and try to compete for your first Larry O'Brien, with the West looking as good as it has in possibly ever, dare I say, you cannot have those players that are going to negatively impact your team and that are not going to give you 100% effort at all times when they're on the floor. Um, let's work into another little section here, and I kind of want to hear what you guys have to say on this. We haven't really talked about Ant at all this game, and 2 bum knees. There's a lot of stuff that you can pick and prod at with Ant, but at the end of the day, Ant's played over 35 minutes these last 3 games. The Spurs have done such a fantastic job of neutralizing one of the best offensive weapons in the game. And something that I kind of saw a little bit down throughout the stretch, I have never seen Ant have this little team or little trust in his teammates. I've never seen Ant with his negative body language as I have before. We were kind of talking about it a little bit before we hopped on the live, just briefly dapping up the Spurs and whatnot. But d- I guess what's kind of your guys' 2 cents on that? Like, do you guys think that does okay? I guess I should say, does Ant need to be the leader? Does Ant need to go up to the front office and be like, guys, we got to do some shit about this. Like we we need to make a move. Because I've never, like I said, I sound like a broken record right now, but I've never seen Ant come out and have this little trust in his teammates. And you know, Ant's shot selection was very questionable tonight. I won't lie, but I think a lot of that does have to track back to I don't trust my teammates. You can come out here, you can listen to the post game stuff, you can listen to whatever he wants to say, but actions are going to speak louder than words, and that's going to be true 10 out of 10 times. So, I guess what did you guys kind of gauge out of like the negative Anthony Edwards body language? Because that's something that we're not really used to seeing.
I think it's kind of fair that he wasn't trusting his teammates in this game. I think at halftime, the other starters besides Ant had a combined 7 points.
Yeah.
That's almost impossible. And we were only down 13. That just shows how good some of our bench guys were playing. But yeah, I mean, I think for the most part, his shot selection, he was trying to get to the rim a lot. So
Yeah.
that's what we want from him. He just wasn't converting. And on those when you're watching from TV, you're like, it looks like he might have got fouled. I don't know. He's complaining like he got fouled. And I watch other games, and usually when that happens, they're getting calls, and he's just not. So it's just like I liked what he was doing by trying to get to the rim. It's just he just wasn't converting at a rate that was good enough to keep us in this game. He had that nice stretch in the second quarter that cut it to 13 there for a second. That was fun, but other than that, it was not a great body language game from really anybody on the team. It kind of felt like there was 3 separate times they just gave up, and it felt like when he didn't get that call on that, I think we were down like 18, so it was probably over, but we were like still keeping it relatively close, and he didn't get that call, and it felt like that was like the straw that broke the camel's back, and everybody was just like, well, we're not winning this one now. And so you hate seeing that, and that's where we're just going to have that awful taste in our mouth going into the offseason. But yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of fair he wasn't trusting his teammates.
Oh yeah, I think, and like with the bad body language stuff, obviously it's not fun to see the star player who like we're all hoping will lead us to winning a championship, like that type of guy, like even a one team entire career type of dude. Like I'm sure that's what all of us want. Like he's
Yeah.
like the Timberwolves guy. So it's sad to see him being frustrated and obviously being frustrated with his teammates and unhappy with how the game's going. But if I was him, I'd probably be pretty upset too. Like he's going out there on 2 bum knees this entire series. Obviously, like, he wouldn't play if it was, like, devastating to his future or anything like that,
Mhm.
but, like, he's giving it everything he has every single night because he wants it bad, and when, like you guys said, the other starters had a combined 7 points, like, I'm sure it's not that he doesn't, like, trust them, but it's like at a certain point, I'm sure he felt like, is nobody else going to do it? I just got to go out there and do it myself. Like with some of those shots, to me, it didn't feel as much like I don't want to swing the ball as much as I need to get something going for us. And so I don't know. I think it's tough, but I mean, next season's going to come around, and I'm sure like it's going to be the same mentality, like charging, getting to the playoffs, and trying to make it as far as we can. It's not fun to see, but to a certain point, I understand it. And in a situation like that, like it's hard not to be emotional, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And it is just, I think that one, I guess, was a little bit more emotional based out of myself personally. But, like we're just not used to seeing stuff like that out of Ant. He's the class clown. Like that's kind of what I like to call him. He's happy. He's the team morale boost, like you see all these
Mhm.
clips of, man, the dude's freaking hilarious. But we've talked a lot about a lot of negatives, which rightfully so, but there have been some positives that we can
Mhm.
take away from this series. And one of which being the emergence of Terrence Shannon Jr. TJ had another solid game tonight. In 22 minutes, he had 21 points, shot 8 for 15 from the field, and only had one turnover. Um, I've been shocked, to be quite honest, with how well Terrence Shannon has played. Yes, Terrence Shannon, he is a very old second year player in the NBA. And I think that some of that started to show, like we've talked about this just kind of throughout like the Denver series when he started to play. We talked about this at the start of the San Antonio series, but the Wolves have found a hidden gem with Terrence Shannon Jr., man. Um, excuse me. But with TJ, what do you guys think that TJ's role is going to be next year? Because obviously, there's still a lot of looming questions. But this is the TJ that all Wolves fans have been wanting to see. Because I'm kind of in the boat that if we can get an offseason of Terrence Shannon Jr. Um, fully stuck in the gym, who knows? Maybe with Chris Hines, we can stick him in there with Ant and the Wolves can just be like, here's what you need to work on, because Finch's big gripe with TJ was his defense. I thought TJ had a pretty solid defensive series, just considering how, again, quite piss poor he was when we saw him prior.
Mhm.
I almost wonder, do we maybe see Terrence Shannon a little bit more at the point guard role next season due to the injury with Dante? Do we see Terrence Shannon just kind of get stuck on the 3-point line and try to evolve his game more into of a I guess, a shooting, and then I'm gonna make you press up on me, and then that's when we get TJ going down to the hole. But what did you guys gauge of Terrence Shannon kind of throughout this playoffs? Because we saw, like I said, limited minutes due to the foot injury throughout the whole regular season. Never really got to find his flow until like the last, what was it, 3 or 4 games of the regular season, and then to come into the playoffs and do this when you have no Dante DiVincenzo, when you have Julius Randle playing as poorly as he did, with Rudy Gobert being a non-factor, with Jaden not being able to stay on the floor throughout this series. What did you guys think of Terrence Shannon? I want you to take this one real quick, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so exciting. This is what every Wolves fan hoped that Terrence Shannon Jr. could become. Like being able to just be instant offense at times. I mean, 21 points in 22 minutes tonight. There's some moments where it looks kind of bad and kind of gross. Some of the plays that happen, like just either him moving too fast. We've seen a lot of that. Definitely, his speed is one of his biggest strengths. But there's definitely moments where it's like you kind of got to utilize pacing like a little bit more. And I think that's a huge step for him because imagine if he's able to have a decent change of pace with the top speed that he has. Like, he's just one of those guys where there's so, like, for example, there's just so many different ways he could grow. And there's so many different players and roles that I feel like he could fill for this team. Like you said, like, I don't necessarily imagine him as like in a point guard sense per se, but maybe like okay, like how you look at like a Karis LeVert, where you trust to give him the ball. Obviously, I hope he's going to be better than Karis LeVert because I would not want him to turn into Karis LeVert. But at least in terms of the role of like it's not a point guard, but you trust him to give him the ball. And first, he's looking for his own shot, but he might like create something for someone else as well. But obviously, at a higher level. And with the defense, he has the athleticism. There's just some moments where it looks like he's just not really sure of what to do, or like because you see it like off defense isn't his thing. Like that's
Yeah.
not where he's like doing like feeling in his flow. So if he can just spend time working on it, which I'm sure, I mean, they say he gets locked out of the gym now because he's
Mhm.
working so much. So I mean, it's obvious in the way he was able to come in against the teams that he was playing this well against and just absolutely dominate. And I think as sad as it is for Dante to be gone next season, I think it makes the role that TSJ can have so much clearer. Because if we were to have the backcourt, because I kind of consider him to be a two guard. Like you could run him at the three, obviously, but I kind of look at him more as a two, especially with Chris like saying now, like we want to be giving him the ball. Like I've realized that he's strong with the ball in his hand. If it was Io, Dante, Ant, and Shannon Jr., it's like a little confusing. Like you're fourth in that pecking order, despite how well you played, because of just who those other two guys are and the trust that Chris Finch obviously has in them. But now with Dante gone, there's a really clear role as that bench guard, and he could just be a real spark plug. We've seen it. I mean, last year in the playoffs, comes in against the Thunder and just absolutely blitzes them.
Sorry,
Nah,
my
no
dog's going a little crazy.
Shout out Jeff's
Nah,
dog.
we're going crazy too, dude. I mean, I don't blame him after this game, but with Shannon Jr., like sky's the limit. I'm excited for him, and I'm just happy that we got him at all the way at pick 27.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Jeff's dog's good. Well, we'll mute him now.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jeff, do you got anything on TJ?
Yeah, obviously an amazing playoffs for him. He exceeded anything we expected from him coming into the playoffs. The one worry I have is he kind of did that last year, and I think we were expecting a lot more from him this season after what he did last year. And I think on one of the Wolves podcasts I listened to, they were saying like internally they were thinking he was going to be like a 15 points per game guy this year. And he was so far from that, where it's just like, all right, you had that vision for him and you just didn't even play him when he came back from that foot injury. So like, are we now with Dante out though? I think that kind of does free up that role so that he actually will get those minutes. So that makes me feel better for the future than last year. But yeah, actually need to stick with him next year. That's the big thing.
Absolutely, fellas. And I think that, we're gonna obviously we got a long off season ahead of us. We got a lot of time to talk about the positives. We got a lot of time to talk about the roster retooling, what needs to happen, what doesn't need to happen. So if you guys are okay with it, I think we're gonna end it off right there. We gotta end it off on a high note. We love our team at the end of the day. We don't like seeing these shitty losses
No.
year after year after year, unfortunately, when it matters most. But with that being said, guys, we appreciate all the support that you guys have given us throughout this season, to all the viewers, to all the listeners. None of this stuff would be possible without you guys. We love putting out content for you guys, and it's always a blast, always a joy on all of our end. And I know I'm speaking for everybody on the team, speaking for Evan, speaking for Jack, speaking for Carly, speaking for everybody who's not here. So thank you guys for another great season of Timberwolves basketball. And with that being said, for the final time this season, guys, the Daily Wolves team is signing off. Go Wolves.
We'll always have